Welcome to this week's The Next Chapter. I'm your host, Fred Hughes, best-selling Amazon author, and this week's show is going to be a little different. I'm recording this remotely. This is in preparation for me being out of town, attending some conventions and conferences so that I won't be available to go in the studio. It's also a test because several of the people that I really want to interview aren't available during the day when we normally record this in the studio. So I'm doing it remotely. We'll see how it turns out. Um, and that brings us to the subject of this week's show. This week's show we're going to talk about branding. And part of that is advertising, and part of it is a bunch of other things. Um, as I mentioned, uh, I am going to be traveling to go to some conventions, and we've already talked about one of them. I'll be at Liberty Con at the end of the month as a guest participant. I'll be on several panels. I'll be there selling books. Uh, as we've discussed it before, Liberty Con is sort of a niche con. It's really more for authors and uh, publishers and a few other industry type people. There's only a few fans. They only sell a limited number of tickets because they intentionally want to keep it as a small con. I think all told, there's only 2,000, 2,500 people that will attend. So it's not a place to go to interact with a bunch of fans. Uh, for those of you that are out there who have either been to some of the big conventions or have heard about them, and I'm talking like Comic-Con in San Diego or Los Angeles, whichever it is, or Dragon Con in Atlanta, where there are 40 or 50,000 people there. And you definitely have the opportunity to interact with people. There's a convention this coming week here in Dallas that I'm going to go to. I'm not a participant. Uh, that's sort of the same thing. Uh, and one of the things you can do as an author to grow your brand is to go to these conventions. You get to interact with fans uh, and network with other people in the industry. However, you have to be selective in the cons you go to because not all cons are equal. And you may find as an author, the convention you're going to or the convention you're thinking about going to doesn't suit the genre or genres that you write in. For example, uh, Dragon Con is a true fan convention. There's everything there. Um, you can go and see famous sci-fi and fantasy people. Um, I'm not going this year, but you can routinely expect to see uh, multiple Star Trek people, both from the original show, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, all the iterations of it. You can expect to see people who were on that show there. And I don't mean those of you who are Star Trek lovers like I am, and I'm not talking about red shirts. I'm talking about, major players that you would recognize. Um, the same goes for, and you'll also see Star Wars people there. You'll see basically across the whole genre. Same thing goes for fantasy. You'll very likely see people who from Game of Thrones, from the Wheel of Time series, they're all going to be there. Also deals with a lot of comics. But there are author, writers, with a whole track that are there where you can go if you're a professional and get lucky enough to get invited as a professional, get to appear on panels. Um, you can hear people like David Weber or Larry Correia or any other number of fame or relatively famous sci-fi writers, including Blast from the Past, Catherine Kurtz, etc. They're discussing writing. Um, and they're there to interact with the fans. They're not there to teach you how to write or anything like that. They're there, guess what? To grow their brand. They want to reach new people, new audiences. Um, it's also a place to network. So do your research before you commit to spending a lot of money to go to a con. Like, for instance, going to Dragon Con is not cheap. It's over Labor Day weekend. It's in downtown Atlanta. You're going to spend $300 a night for hotel rooms. Lord knows what you're going to spend for food. You have the tickets to the con itself, which are not cheap. So last time my wife and I went 2 years ago, I want to say we easily dropped 6K attending that con. And I wasn't even attending as a professional. That was just as a fan. So um, as a professional, you get breaks on your tickets, but you don't get any breaks on hotel rooms or anything else. So can be expensive. You have to understand what the costs are, and that feeds in, but it's part of what being an author is. And like I said, this week's show is talking about branding and what you can do to grow your brand. And growing your brand costs money, whether it's in advertising, whether it's traveling to cons, or uh, book signings, personal appearances, even there. I got notified. I'm a somewhat of a beer snob, so and as many of you know, I live in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And Dallas, there are a lot of craft beer establishments in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and I have gone to a few of them. I mean, if you ever see me in person and see how big I am, you'll realize that, yep, that guy has had a beer or two. Um, anyway, I got a notice from one of the craft brewing places that I enjoy that, oh, they're having an author signing there. Not anybody I know, not a genre I know, but it was, that's part of being an author. So that's what today's show is going to talk about. Being an author is more than just writing a book and then, I'm done, post it up on Amazon and move on to the next project. No, if you want to be an author and make some money at it, it's a business just like anything else. Um, you walk into, let's say, your favorite bistro that you enjoy, Italian, whatever. And you go, oh, it must be so cool to run this place. And you see the manager moving through the crowd, interacting with the diners and everything. Um, that's part of his branding. What you don't know is that, the restaurant's hours are 11 to, you know, call it 10 o'clock, 11 in the morning, 10 o'clock at night. What you don't see is that owner slash manager of that restaurant was in the restaurant at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, um, taking care of his financials, taking care of making sure the staff was setting up for that day. Um, Working on advertising for either Facebook or putting together print ads for the local newspaper or whatever, all to get people to come to his restaurant. He's putting the work in to grow his brand. So we're going to talk about growing the brand today. And uh, as a part of that, and uh, we are going to, let me show you, and I've shared this with folks before, um, what my this number. This is an Amazon number that is, this is what one of the most important numbers you'll use, and that's Amazon followers. You put a book up on Amazon and it sells a few copies. People like it. and people decide, you know what, I want to know when this next person's book comes out. So they follow you. Well, right now, and this isn't a brag, this is just to show you the numbers. I have, almost 3,300 people that follow me on Facebook. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about this number and how you can grow it. This is Fred Hughes, and this is the next chapter. Welcome back. This is the next chapter where we talk about all things writing and author and publishing related. And when we went to the break, we were discussing branding and your Amazon author page. And one of the things that you can find on here, we were talking about this number. This is the number of followers you have on Amazon. People who liked your book enough that they decided to follow you so that Amazon will tell them when you have a new book out. The huge advantage this has is because Amazon wants to sell books. So if someone's following you because they like your books, Amazon will tell them when you have a new book come out. About 2 weeks, if your book is up for pre-order, and we'll talk about pre-orders at another time, the reader will get a notification 2 weeks before the book is actually available. And then sometime within a day or two of the book actually going live on Amazon, whether it's a pre-order or a real live, Amazon will send an email out. And so all these people who have followed you will get an email from Amazon, from Kindle saying, hey, an author you follow just released a new book. So they know that, and that helps sales immensely. So how, there's several ways to grow this number, but the easiest way is to write books and get them in front of people. So we're going to talk about that. Let's go back here. Where can I find that information? It's on your Author Central page from Amazon. And you get to set that up whenever you become an author on Amazon, they will create a page. You need to create a bio, and everything else. Then all the books that you publish all the names that are published on Amazon that you're the author of will appear on this page. So this is what I currently have on Amazon, 12 books, 12 titles. If you keep scrolling on down, you'll see some others. But if you notice the names look weird, that's because some of my books are in foreign languages, which is something else we'll talk about in a future show. How to get your books out there in other countries. So these are the books. This is Author Central. You can get to, that's your author homepage. You can get to Author Central through there. What else can I do on Author Central? Well, if you look over here, you can look at all your books. You can look at reviews. This is the most recent review from every written review for all of the books that I put out. So You can go there quick and dirty to see what's new as far as what people are saying about it, about your books. You can also come and look at the sales ranks of your books. And if you're going to do advertising, this is one of the important pages you have to go to. If you're with a publisher, you don't have, if I come over here and go to Kindle Direct, this is where you would upload as an author. And notice that there are only 4 books listed on this page for me. These are the 4 books that Fred Hughes Publishing has put up. This is a publisher page. All of my Prince of Britannia books are published through Chris Kennedy Publishing. So Chris Kennedy Publishing has a page that has a boatload of books on it. 8 of them are mine. But for my Vicky books, and can look at my sales numbers. Now you see, oh, low, it looks like I didn't sell much. And then all of a sudden, huge numbers. Well, I just released, a new book. So that skews, the chart. But if you come down here, this is where you can see today, as of right now, this is the number of books that I've sold. Obviously, Cripple Squadron, my 3rd book, Cripple Disciple, has sold, almost $100 worth of books today, so far. And it's increased the sales of the other 2 books. The other thing you can see down here is royalty sources. Where are your sales coming from? And where it says, 72% of my sales this month are from ebook. 28% are from subscription. Subscription means Kindle Unlimited. People who subscribe to the Kindle Unlimited have, that's where their sales contribution comes in. And the money is different. This money up here reflects, this is actually based on, like for Cripple Squadron, this rounded off and call it $100 is based on 3 ebook sales and 20,000, almost 21,000 pages read. And, if you round that off and say, okay, my book's 400 pages long, that's what? The equivalent of 50 books? Is that right? Maybe. Anyway, math, I'm old. Math's not my strong suit. So if you're an independent, you can watch these numbers and adjust your ads accordingly. If you're not an independent, then you have to come over here, and I'm going to go to the first Cripple Squadron book, if I can find it. And there's a bar chart here that shows these are the sales numbers for Cripple Squadron. And you can note that, well, way back, and I got it set up to show 6 months, and you can see way back in December, I was in the 20s. Now, part of that is last part in November, I released the 2nd book in that series. So the numbers were and then they slowly started to fade away, because by first part of April, it had been 5 months since I had a new book. Remember what I said? The best advertising you can have is the next book in your series. Well, eventually people, you've saturated the market. Everybody that's going to buy the book is reaching people to buy it. Welcome back. I'm Fred Hughes. This is the next chapter, and we were talking about advertising and how you can track to see how effective your ads are. And go back here to the Wiki screen for the first book, Cripple Squadron, First Solar War. I was I was talking about how in early November, the sales were pretty good. But that was because if I went farther back, you'd see that in late November, I released the second book of the series, and that jumped up the end. It stayed pretty strong till, you know, all right, it'd been 4 months since the last book and sales started to drop off. And then I screwed up and let an ad run out. And then there was I had some ad problems in April. So you can see how sales plummeted. And um, all of a sudden, there on the first, everything jumped back up again. It's because I released the next book in the series. The difference between 20,250 and 71,972, 70,000, 72,000 book ranking on Amazon means you sold 3 equivalent books that day. A 20,000 ranking means you sold about 18 equivalent books that day. So that's a difference of 15 books. Since I self-published this, it means that the difference between this and this is $40. It's not exact because some of those equivalent books were Kindle Unlimited, and I don't make as much, as an author, I don't make as much money on that as I do ebooks. But that's a difference of 30 book, call it between 30 and $40 in a day times 30 days in a month. So that's a significant difference in change. And that's advertising. If I go back, I specifically want to look at and show you the perfect example of in both cases is my flagship book, Prince Awakens, first book I released, came out, you know, February of 2021. So it's, 3 years and 3 months old. And if I go back and look at its sales, you can see a couple of important things. Late last year, 26,000, good number. I mean, most people would, most authors would kill for these numbers. And you can see how numbers, were pretty consistent. Why did it jump up in early, this big jump here? I released a new book in early January. So it stayed pretty strong and then it started slowly fading away. I'll point out that this low number here and this low number here is because the ads I had running ran out. I wasn't paying attention. And went past their expiration date. The ad stopped and all of a sudden sales plummeted. And then they came right back up. Helping that was the fact that on the 12th, the next book in the series came out, which that's the reason why I found out that the ad had run out. I went in to start an ad for the new book coming out and saw that the old ad had run out. So started that back up, put a new ad in, and you can see that, sales have been pretty strong since then. So advertising, advertising, advertising. And you can see what happens. And that number would have only gone lower if I had not started an ad back up. So ads. This is Facebook Ad Center. I don't run Amazon ads, um, mainly because I don't understand them. They're very hard. Um, they're even harder to run if you're with a publisher because you don't get to see daily numbers. Remember, I showed you, the numbers from uh, these numbers from Kindle Direct Publishing, and I can see how these numbers change on a daily basis. I don't get to see this for the books that my publisher publishes. I can ask for them and he can give them to me, but it's not real-time information. The other thing about ads is when you start an ad, you can't expect to see instant results. You have to put an ad out there, you have to let it run for about 2 weeks before you begin evaluating whether or not it's any good. So let's go back to the ad center. These are the ads, that I currently have running. I don't have a lot. Uh, Come on, here we go. I have 3 ads running right now. One on this ad right here is on the whole First Solar War series. This ad right here is on the whole Prince of Britannia series. And this ad is the one I just put up because of the new book in the Cripple series. It's only targeted the, the most recent book in the Cripple series. So what does that look like? Let's look at the uh, Prince of Britannia series because it's been running a while. And we'll go in and edit that ad because I want to show you all the information on that. And as in the ad, you'll have, this can be anything, any write-up, you can put it in here. And over here, you see this is what the ad will actually look like when it's when it shows up on Facebook. The image, this is this upper portion, the write-up is this, and people would do the click more. Then down here, it would be the learn more about it, click on that, and it will take you to the book page that we looked at before. So, other things. I want to go down here. Um, I'm spending $30 a day on this ad. A lot of you will think that's a lot of money. That's $900 a month. Fortunately, I'm making up in sales and I can do that. But what I wanted to point out, I wasn't bragging about how much money I spend on ads. I make that much money because I spend that much money on ads. One of the things I point out is because I spend $30,000, I'm going to reach between 6 and 17,000 people every day. If I uh, say I'm only going to spend $5 a day, I'm not reaching near that many people. I'll just, and then you have choices. I run the ads both on Facebook and Instagram. I do not run it on Messenger. Um, Here's the last important thing on who is your audience? May be hard to, who is your audience? And are you going to advertise to just men, just women, all, what age ranges? And then who are you, where are you going to do it? I know people who have tried targeting ads to specific areas of a country. Uh, I don't know that that's effective. You can make this too wide an area so that you're diluting your reach. I advertise to the United States. That's it for this ad. Then the other important thing is, um, and we will get more into this as we go by, in the next segment, in the last segment, but what you write, then you have to sit down as an author and figure out who would be interested in buying my stuff. Now, I write military science fiction, so it's obvious that people who like science fiction and obviously people in the military are my core audiences. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about this some more. I'm Fred Hughes, and this is the next chapter. Welcome back. This is Fred Hughes. This is the next chapter. We're talking about advertising and how to effectively target the right audience, because this is incredibly important. Too many people create ads and do not target the right audience. This is the targeting for my audience. Now, literally everything I write is military science fiction. So uh, I target 25 and older. I used to only target 40 and older, but found that since I target the military, not targeting people as young as 25 was silly. So I expanded that, actually grew sales. I target both men and women. Again, when I first started advertising, I only targeted men. And that choked off about 10% of my sales because there are women that enjoy reading science fiction and reading military stuff. Um, so both men and women, 25 to 65. Talked about the United States, but let's talk about detailed targeting. When you're on Facebook, most of you have been on Facebook, and and Facebook will evaluate based on ads that you look at, sites and groups that you belong to, etc., what your interests are. And in the detailed targeting, you get to pick, you can select, oh, I want my ads to go to the people, in the above categories, 25 and older men and women in the United States. But I also want, you know, the ads to, oh, those people are interested in apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic. They're interested in Larry Niven, the author, or Robert Heinlein, science fiction movies, space opera, Isaac Asimov, space exploration. All of these, that's like specific interest people have. Now, Facebook does not have a wide um, variety of them, as far as you go and start looking for science fiction, say you're doing science fiction, doesn't have a wide selection of science fiction authors that you can choose to put in here. But anybody that likes Isaac Asimov will eventually be targeted for an ad. Um, One of the things I want to emphasize right here, ebook readers. Doesn't do you any good to target all the rest of these people if they also are not ebook readers, because some of these people only watch, they're targeted as a science fiction, mil sci-fi fan because they love Battlestar Galactica. And all they do is watch Battlestar Galactica and reruns of Battlestar Galactica. Anyway, you need to include that. Oh, I also want people, the people need to be ebook readers. And then demographics. People like science fiction. I also, because I think my target audience is military people, or military people will like my books. Uh, People, United States Marine Corps, military glory, veterans, United States Air Force, United States Navy. So those are all people that um, are in my demographics. And then you have some other ads, other information down here. Uh, Run the ad continuously. I don't do that anymore because frankly, I inadvertently forgot and left an ad running forever and it wasn't doing anything and it was sucking $5 a day out of my pocket. But the daily budget, and like I said, I'm not going to, I'm going to cancel these changes because I'm not going to spend that much money every day. So, but you can do that every day. Now, the other thing you can see is you can view results, and this probably wasn't the best ad to look at, but currently this ad over the last 3 days, because it's only been running for 3 days. This is the new ad I just started for the new release book. I've had 257 link clicks. So my ad appeared in front of 5,322 people. Of that, 257 people clicked on the link. And this ad right now is it cost me 19 cents for each link click, which is actually considered a really good number. Now, just because 257 people clicked on the link didn't mean 257 people bought the book, but they did. The ad interested them enough for them to click the link. Now, one of the last things to talk about that I really should go back. Let's go back and we'll look at the Vicky ad that I just. There's a lot of different ads out there. And I'm sure all of you that have Facebook, you see ads pop up on your feed constantly. Might even see book ads pop up on your ad frequently. Your ad has to be catchy enough and it's got to be the picture. Now, obviously, people are not stopping to read, all of this up here. They're stopping on the graphics. The graphics have got to be eye-catching enough that they want to see. They're going to stop and look at the rest of it. I know a lot of authors that just take a picture of just literally all they do is put their book cover in the ad, have a really short write-up up here, and that's it. Hey, I've done it. And that ad, I can pull it up. Remember, we looked at the information. Come on. This ad is costing me 19 cents a link click. The ad I just talked about was running me 45 or 50 cents a link click. And when you run out of money on a day, that's the end of that ad. That's it for this week's show. Sorry to cut it short, but we'll obviously talk more about advertising, but creating ads and targeting the right audience is incredibly important. Next week, we're going to talk about conventions. I'm looking forward to it. Crystal Gale Shue, who is in charge of the Pecan convention here in Dallas Fort Worth, will be on. So that's it for this week. I'm Fred Hughes, and this is the next chapter. I hope to see you again soon.